I roasted a 1,200 pounds whole bull, the tastiest meat I've ever cooked. Hello my friends and fellow food lovers. Today I've got something really extraordinary lined up for you. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, like this video and ring that bell icon so you never miss out on more of these grand feasts. We're out here among these beautiful cattle, and yes, we're about to embark on a true culinary adventure. And who is the star of the show? A whole bull. My good friend here has carefully selected the finest bull for us, and I can't wait to show you how we're going to cook it. But before we get started, let's take a moment to relax and share some watermelon with my friend here. Nothing quite like a slice of sweet, juicy watermelon on a day like today. It's simple moments like these that set the stage for something unforgettable. And, as you can see, he's fully aware of what's coming. I mean, who wouldn't be? We've got an entire bull ahead of us. Now, to prepare a meal of this scale, you need top-notch equipment, knives sharp enough to make even the toughest cuts effortless. That's why I'm using my own high-quality knives today. If you're as passionate about cooking as I am, you'll want to check out our shop for the best kitchen tools. Scan the QR code and we'll make sure your order reaches you with no hassle. Just watch how these knives glide through the bull as I start the butchering process. We're not just trimming a few parts here, we're working with the whole beast. This requires precision, strength, and the right tools. And trust me, nothing does the job like these knives. The bones are thick and require special treatment. So I need to apply the right technique to ensure a clean cut without damaging any of the meat. But the real challenge isn't just in the size of the bull, it's in how we'll cook it. Since we're dealing with something this enormous, we need to think bigger. I've constructed this brick wall to serve as our roasting pit, and we'll be using a specialized rig to slowly rotate the bull over the heat. It's quite the setup, but believe me, it's going to be worth every effort. Right now, I'm preparing the base where the bull will be mounted. This is where the magic happens, as the slow rotation in front of the fire will ensure an even roast. The bull is quiet, and having extra hands will be helpful during this process. It's always better to have a few more pairs of hands to assist with the heavier cuts and to ensure everything goes smoothly. I'm securing the bull with these metal chains so it stays steady throughout the roasting process. We want to make sure it's perfectly aligned and doesn't budge. Next, I'm adding a good amount of wood and charcoal behind the metal grate to get the fire going. It's important that we have a steady, strong flame to roast something of this size properly. But before we start the fire, it's essential to season this grand fellow. No roast is complete without the right mix of spices and seasonings. And for a bull, we need to go big with flavors. After seasoning it, it's time to brush it with oil. This will help lock in the flavors and create a beautiful, crispy outer layer as it cooks. Now comes the citrusy twist. I'm cutting up plenty of lemons and squeezing out the juice. Not only will this add a refreshing layer of flavor, but the acidity from the lemon helps tenderize the meat as it cooks, ensuring it is tender and juicy. Absolutely wonderful. When you're working on something this monumental, presentation is key too. Just like the food, the tools you use should look and feel great. If you're looking to bring some style and functionality into your kitchen, scan the QR code and check out our premium tools. They'll elevate your cooking experience. As we wait for the bull to roast, there's nothing quite like sitting back with a warm cup of aromatic black tea. It's the perfect companion to the calm before the culinary storm. Let me know in the comments what your favorite way to unwind is while waiting for a meal to cook. Alright, let's take a moment to brew some black Azerbaijani tea. I'm using high-quality black tea leaves, which are known for their rich flavor and beautiful aroma. Now, I'll let the water come to a gentle boil before pouring it over the tea leaves. As the tea steeps, I can already start to smell that warm, comforting scent filling the air. While it brews, let's talk about the jam I have here. It's a homemade fruit jam, made from the freshest fruits. When you pair this sweet, flavorful jam with the tea, it creates a delightful contrast. You know, there's nothing quite like enjoying a cup of freshly brewed tea with a spoonful of that delicious jam. Now, let's take a sip. Just perfect. The warmth and richness of the tea, combined with that sweet jam, makes this moment truly special. It's one of those simple pleasures that really brings joy to my day. I'm giving the bowl an occasional spray of lemon juice to keep it moist and packed with flavor as it slowly turns on the rig. This process ensures every bite is rich with layers of taste, juicy, tangy, and perfectly roasted. Watching these kids playing takes me back to the simplicity of my childhood. Days spent running around with friends, eagerly awaiting a hearty meal. Moments like these remind me that some traditions, like sharing a meal with good company, never grow old. For dessert, I've got a nice, refreshing watermelon on hand to balance the richness of the meal. It's a classic and a sweet way to finish the day. And remember, for more behind-the-scenes content, mouth-watering recipes and cooking tips, follow us on Instagram. You won't want to miss out on the fun. Everything's coming together beautifully. The table is set, and I can already tell this meal is going to be a hit. Now it's time to turn off the roasting rig and carefully bring down our perfectly cooked masterpiece. The bowl is done and ready to be served. Take a look at that golden brown crust. The meat has roasted to perfection, with the lemon juice adding just the right touch of glaze and flavor. The aroma is simply irresistible, and the meat is so tender, it practically falls apart as I carve into it. Let's have a taste. Oh, the texture is incredible.
Super.
Tender and packed with all the flavors we've worked so hard to infuse. The slow roasting has enhanced every bit of the meat's natural richness, while the lemon gives it that fresh, tangy finish. It's pure culinary delight. Time to plate up. As I slice the tender, roasted bull meat and arrange it on the plates, the smoky, savory scent fills the air. Each piece is perfectly cooked, with a beautiful char on the outside and juicy goodness on the inside. There's no doubt this will be a meal to remember, bringing together rich flavors that reflect the effort we put into the feast. Watch out there, kids, don't topple the table. There's plenty to go round, so let's take it slow and enjoy the moment. I can feel the excitement in the air. Everyone's eyes are locked on the food. Their anticipation is almost tangible. It's moments like these that make it all worthwhile. When the joy of food brings people together, hearing their laughter and seeing the smiles around me, I know we've created something truly special today. This is what life's all about. Good food, good company, and memories that will last a lifetime. Thanks for your time, and catch you later.
Kanalımıza destek olmak istəyirsinizsə, onlayn mağazamızdan xüsusi bıçaq və ya taxta qablarımızı əldə edə bilərsiniz. Mağazanın linki videonun altındakı təsvirdə var. Super!
So, here we are, rolling through the heart of countryside. You might be wondering why these sheep are all around. Well, let's just say these guys are more than just a part of the scenery. They're actually the star of today's episode. Let's dive into making some real Azerbaijani food straight from the source. First, we might need to catch the lamb before loading it in the back of the car. Sheep breeding in Azerbaijan is the real deal. It's like the backbone of our farming game, something that has been passed down generations. Folks out here rely on it big time, making a living off the meat, milk and wool. Whenever we had a celebration, my dad would prep a lamb and invite all the relatives and neighbours over for kebabs. Those were some of the best times of my childhood, full of excitement and getting everything ready. Now, I feel like I'm keeping his tradition of hospitality alive. In Azerbaijan, lamb's a key element for almost every celebration, from national holidays to weddings and new babies. During Kurban Bayram, lambs get sacrificed and the meat gets shared with those in need. My family always sends out meat packages around the village. It's more than just food. Lamb takes a huge part of Azerbaijani traditions. Now, let's say goodbye to our lamb and get everything squared away. Our cuisine is deeply influenced by our agriculture. Those vast grasslands shape a strong tradition of raising a livestock, which you can taste in many dishes. What's unique about your agriculture that we can taste in your food? Drop a comment. A good knife is half the battle. Some people might overlook it, but they really matter. They save you a ton of time and hassle. If you're tired of struggling with tough meat or bones, check out our store's selection. We offer quality knives and wooden utensils that make cooking a breeze. Trust me, once you try them, you won't look back. The lamb's meat is much more tender than that of a sheep, so the knife glides smoothly through it. After separating the fat tail, we need to cut through the larger parts, such as the hips, spine, and breast. First, let's separate the shoulder from the ribs and Then cut the foreleg away from the shoulder. Trim the skin carefully to avoid damaging the meat. Remove the insides, which I'll also use later. Now we need a metal wire to insert into the center of the carcass to fix it on the table. We need to use a different type of knife for this part, as the regular knife may cause wobbling. With this knife we will make sharp, pointed cuts along the wire. I'll spread some fat tail on the wooden surface to keep the ribs from sticking while cutting. And then I slice the ribs into medium-sized pieces, each with 3 small bones. And also some shoulder meat. This is one of the juiciest parts of the lamb because of all the fat it has. So when you roast it, the fat melts, keeping the meat nice and moist. The leg is leaner than the shoulder, but still flavorful, if it's cooked properly. I often think back to the awesome food from my childhood. For example, my granny used to whip up the best bread in the Tandoor. That's the old school clay oven. She'd mix up the dough and slap it right onto the hot, curved walls of the Tandoor. Here it is. You can see it has a cylindrical shape. We'll also be using it today for our cooking. I'm getting ready to chop some shoulder meat with a bit of fat tail for our kebabs. First, I'll cut the meat into small, even chunks with my knife. Then I'll mince it finely, rocking the knife back and forth, keeping a steady hand for the perfect texture. While you're checking out my knife skills, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you are always first to see our latest updates. And while I'm at it, I'll also dice up some onions. I'll slice them thin, then cut across the slices to get them nice and fine. Let's grab some bones for our dog. He's been drooling all morning, running around like crazy, waiting for his time. Look at him. One glance at that wagging tail, and you can tell how stoked he is. Mix the chopped onions with the minced meat, then squeeze the juice from the onions to keep the kebabs from getting soggy. Plus, it concentrates the onion flavor in the meat. Add salt, pepper, and paprika to season. Work the meat nice and easy, making sure the seasoning and onions are spread evenly. You want every bite to be loaded with flavor, so don't rush it. Make sure everything's blended just right. Let's grab some food for other critters too. The cat, even if it's not hungry, just copies whatever the dog does. It's like a little competition to see who's the favorite. Now, let's wash our veggies. I have eggplants, red peppers, tomatoes, and cucumbers. Make sure to rinse them well. Time for getting our kebabs ready. Starting from the ribs and shoulder meat, string the ribs and the meat on the skewers, making sure to pack it so it cooks up just evenly. No spots that are underdone or overdone. For the mushrooms, just peel off the skin to remove any dirt and help them absorb flavors better. I love mushrooms because they bring a hearty, meaty flavor and add an extra savory kick. Trim off their stems and clean them up. The cat's found a new way to have a blast. To make kebabs more flavorful, I'll toss them on the skewers with the meatballs for a tasty, chunky twist. The mozzarella will melt and get all gooey, while the eggplants and pineapple will bring some extra texture. I'll make 6 different types of kebabs. First up, thread a mushroom onto the skewer, then add a big meatball. Follow it with another mushroom, but toss some ground mozzarella underneath it. Keep that going for the whole skewer. Now, slice the eggplants and pineapples into big chunks, about the same size as the meatballs. Skewer the chunks with the meatballs. For the onions, cut them in half and scoop out the insides to make a hollow. Pop a meatball inside one onion half, then top it with the other half to make an onion sandwich. This keeps the meatball juicy and adds awesome onion flavor. We're going to do the same with potatoes, just like we did with the onions. Cut them in half, hollow them out, and stuff a meatball inside each one. For the final kebab, we're getting a bit creative. I got some lamb tendons here, super thin, as you can see. You might be wondering what I'm planning to do with them. Check this out. I'll wrap them around the meat on the skewer so they wind around it in a cool, elegant way. Well, we are ready for the next step. I'd always been hooked on those amazing tandoori flavors and thought, why not get my own tandoor? Operating the tandoor was a bit of a learning curve, but it was totally worth it. You start by heating it up with charcoal or wood to around 600 to 800 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you simply slide the kebabs inside. Gotta be careful because it's very hot. Then cover the tandoor with wet cloth to regulate the temperature and retain moisture. Time to get some grass for the sheep. Feeding them is really important. They need good food to stay healthy. Let's check on the kebabs. They'll be ready in a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, let's whip up a choban salad. This Azerbaijani classic is a fresh mix of chopped tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, and sometimes bell peppers. Just season with salt, pepper and herbs, then drizzle with olive oil. It's a perfect zesty side for the kebabs. If you're loving these cooking tips, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our latest updates. And what's a kebab without tandoor bread? To make it, roll out your dough and sprinkle it with some black sesame seeds on top. Brush the surface with egg yolk before baking to give it a beautiful orange color and a glossy finish. The kebabs are done in the tandoor and that smell is killer. I wish you could smell it. Charred spices and smoky goodness fill the air, making your mouth water and your senses go wild. Let's take the kebabs off the skewers and set them on the tray. Arrange them nicely and put the choban salad in the middle to make it look great. Before putting the bread inside the tandoor, I need to wet the walls a bit. Now this moisture helps keep the dough from sticking to the hot walls of the tandoor, and the bread cooks evenly and comes off easily. The bread is cooked. I want to place it slightly down into the wood ashes to pick up that smoky flavour. Then, let's bring the bread to the table. Let's dig into that freshly baked tandoor bread and pair it with those juicy kebabs. The potatoes are so tender, they practically dissolve in your mouth, soaked with meaty goodness. The kebabs and ribs are melt in your mouth soft.
Super.
Some of our guests are seriously hungry. Hey, everyone, step on it. Those who show up late might miss out. Just kidding, there's room for everyone. The table got cleared in no time, just like that. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Get yourself a plate and enjoy your meal with your loved ones. Until next time.
Kanalımıza dəstək olmaq istəyirsinizsə, onlayn mağazamızdan xüsusi bıçaq və ya taxta qablarımızı əldə edə bilərsiniz. Mağazanın linki videonun altındakı təsvirdə var. Super.
Hey everyone, in this video I'm heading to the mountains to show you how to cook up some hot smoked meat using time-tested techniques. Buckle up and check out these rad primitive methods that make this cooking process totally epic. I need a sharp knife for trimming the beef to slice off that thin, stringy layer of connected tissue covering the muscles. This will make the meat way more tender and tastier. Alright, now let's find the joint where the bones connect and cut into it. Slice along the muscles so the meat comes out even. And next, we'll trim off all the meat from the bone. Make sure you get every bit to keep it nice and clean. Now, I'm going to slice it into big flat chunks like steaks. Check out these perfect cuts. Truly a feast for the eyes. And if you're enjoying the process, show some love by hitting that like button, subscribing, and ringing the bell to stay updated with all our delicious content. Alright buddy, it's your turn to grab your share. Go ahead and dig in. This treat is all yours. Next, I'll cut these beef steaks into cubes and chop up some fat to match. Now, let's grind up some peppers, garlic and rosemary and sprinkle a bit of it on the meat. Get in there and mix it all up until the meat's coated evenly. Take the remaining garlic and rosemary and season them with a generous pinch of salt and pepper. This will be perfect for the other beef steaks. Let it all sit for a bit so the flavors can really soak in. For the rest of the beef steaks, we're going to take that mix of salt, rosemary and garlic and rub it all over the meat. Make sure to press it in firmly so every inch of the steak gets coated. Flip them over and do the same on the other side. This will make sure that every steak is loaded with rich flavor. Okay, now we are done. We need to let the meat marinate for 1 day. Time to grab our meat. It's released some juice and as you can see, the color has turned brown. When you marinate meat, the salt and acid in the mix pull out the moisture, which causes it to leak juice and change color. You've probably guessed why these ropes are here. I'm using them to hang our beef steaks in the smoker. This way, the smoke can reach every side of the meat evenly. Here's the scoop. Once the steaks are hanging, the smoker's heat and smoke will infuse them with an amazing smoky flavor and make them nice and tender. With the rest of the ground meat, I'm making sausages. I'm using this handy machine, which is ideal for anyone into homemade sausages. I'll slide these beef intestines onto the metal tube, and as the meat comes out, it'll fill them up perfectly. Tie them off at the end with some rope and make sure they're secure. I'll poke a few holes in the sausages so they don't blow up during the smoking process. There's a pit not far from here where we're going to do the smoking. Let's head over. Here's the plan. I'll set up 3 branches across the pit and hang our meat on them. Then I'll get the fire going with some wood. Back in the day, it was the go-to method for keeping meat from going bad before we had fridges. Smoking cooks the meat slowly over wood or charcoal, giving it a smoky flavor and helping it last longer. I added some leafy branches to keep the smoke contained. Now, let's remove them and check out our smoked meat. It should be beautifully dark and infused with a rich, smoky flavor. The meat has a deep, appetizing color and a perfect texture. Four months ago, I planted a bunch of veggies including cabbage. Now it's harvest time. I'm heading out to grab some fresh green peas, sweet corn, juicy tomatoes, crisp green peppers, and, of course, the big gorgeous cabbage I've been waiting on. I still remember the time I planted these, getting my hands dirty, digging in the soil, and watching those tiny sprouts pop up. If you enjoy these glimpses into nature and my wild cooking, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get fresh content. It's seriously awesome to see them turn into something you can actually eat. Everything's ripe and ready to roll. Before we wash these up, let's break up the beans. They're so soft and crunchy, no knife needed. Our hands can handle it. There you go. It's super satisfying, trust me. Now, let's give them a good wash. I always rinse them thoroughly, but honestly, I doubt store-bought veggies ever get truly clean. with all the preservatives and stuff they're treated with. I also give our smoked steaks a rinse and a good scrape to get rid of any residue from the smoke. It's important to clean off everything that might have stuck to the surface during the smoking process. I want to make a nice hearty stew with smoked meat and veggies picked from my garden. First, I'm going to cut them into cubes. Once I'm done with the meat, I'll move on to the onions and dice them up nicely. I'm going to stew the meat with the onions first before adding any water. Stewing the meat with onions before adding water helps to build a deeper flavor base for the stew. Let's get some butter. Here you go. Butter and sarge are key players here. Down goes the meat, pour some water over it, and then add the green beans. Let's chop up the rest of the veggies, tomatoes, peppers, corn, and toss them into the pot. This will make the stew delicious, with tomatoes adding sweetness and corn a buttery hint. Also, check out our store for top quality knives and wooden utensils. Wooden bowls are great for organizing ingredients and adding a rustic touch. Let's get to the cabbage and corn. Chop the corn into big chunks and the cabbage into pieces, not too big, not too small. Then toss everything together with the tomatoes into the pot. I'll add in the smoked sausage we made along with the chopped cabbage to add some rich flavour and extra texture. My guests are about to arrive. Ah, here you are. I've been waiting for you. You have no idea what I've got cooking. Find yourselves a spot and hang tight. It's time to serve up the food. I'll dish out the stew in small bowls, making sure each one gets a bit of everything. They can smell the stew from a mile away. No need to even call them. Kids know the secret to getting the most flavour. Soaking flatbread in the sauce to soak up all that deliciousness. Finally, it's time for me to enjoy the reward for all that hard work. I'm starting with the sausage. Let's see. Yeah, my face says it all. This stew is pure comfort food, and the smoked meat brings an amazing, bold flavour. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel to get new videos with homemade culinary adventures in the mountains of Azerbaijan. Catch you later.
Kanalımıza dəstək olmaq istəyirsinizsə, onlayn mağazamızdan xüsusi bıçaq və ya taxta qablarımızı əldə edə bilərsiniz. Mağazanın linki videonun altındakı təsvirdə var. Super.
Hello to all my friends around the world. Let me ask you this. Did you ever expect to find fast food in the heights of the Azerbaijani mountains? Well, it's not what you're used to. We're taking crisp, savoury and crunchy chicken to a whole new level, with a twist you've probably never tasted before. This is not your average KFC, so get ready for something truly unique and unforgettable. Now, first, let's start with the foundation of any great dish, the sauce. Today, I'm using natural tomato paste as a base for the sauce. Then I'll add some olive oil, a dash of paprika, for that smoky warmth, some black pepper, but first, let's grind it. There's nothing like the fresh, earthy smell of peppercorns. If you have a mortar and pestle in your kitchen, I highly recommend getting some peppercorns and grinding your own fresh pepper. This is where the magic begins, layering flavors right from the start. Oh, and before we dive deeper, if you're looking to upgrade your kitchen tools, go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen. Take your time browsing. We've got everything you need to turn your kitchen into a chef's paradise. No rush, my friend. Just explore the possibilities at your own pace. Now, back to the sauce. We're mixing all those seasonings into the tomato paste, and I'm adding a pinch of turmeric. Not only does it give a beautiful golden color, but it also adds a subtle depth that takes the sauce up a notch. The sauce is thick thanks to that rich tomato paste, so I'm adding some water to thin it out just enough. The goal is a smooth, pourable consistency that will coat the chicken perfectly without being too heavy. Alright, this sauce is just where I want it. With the sauce ready, it's time to marinate the chicken. Let's get those pieces covered. Every inch needs to be coated. This is where the flavor gets locked in, so don't rush it. Mix it all together thoroughly. I like to use my hands for this part. It's the best way to ensure that every chicken leg is completely soaked in that delicious sauce. It's messy, but that's part of the fun, and it ensures that every bite will be bursting with flavor. Now, when I mentioned a twist on the usual KFC, I wasn't kidding. We're not deep frying these chicken pieces in oil like you're used to. Instead, we're going for a traditional Azerbaijani approach, something that brings in the flavors of the land. And guess what it is? Yes, it's a tandoor. First up, we need to prep the tandoor by cleaning out the old ashes. A clean tandoor means a clean cook. That's key to getting the best results. The weather's a bit windy today, but that's not going to stop us. I've got some twigs ready to go for the fire. There's something about battling the elements that makes cooking outdoors even more rewarding. I'll need to cut these twigs down to size because they're a bit too long for the tandoor right now. Just a quick trim and they'll be perfect. You know, there's something deeply satisfying about cooking outdoors. It's not just about the food. Rather, it's about the whole experience. The preparation, gathering firewood, getting the fire going, it all adds up to something that you just can't replicate in a regular kitchen. Out here, every step counts, and that's what makes the meal special. I always carefully select these branches, making sure they're dry and ready to ignite. You see, building the fire is a delicate art. Too much, and you risk burning everything. Too little, and you'll never reach the right temperature. As I tend to the fire, I can feel the connection to centuries of tradition. There's something special about cooking this way. It's not just about the food either, but the whole experience. The scent of burning wood, the sound of fire, and the way the heat spreads through the clay, creating a perfect environment for cooking. You know, there's something special about adding a touch of craftsmanship to your kitchen. Whether it's handmade wooden utensils or a uniquely crafted knife, these tools don't just serve a purpose, they bring character to your cooking space. If you're interested, check out my shop. You might find something that speaks to you, something that makes your kitchen feel a little more personal. Now, moving on, I've prepared some dough to make our tandoor bread. But before we start baking, we need to prep the tandoor itself. I'm going to gently brush the inside surface with a damp cloth. This ensures the bread won't stick and will slide out effortlessly when it's perfectly baked. I've also put together a special tool for today's cooking adventure. You see that metal net bent into a cylinder? It's going to play a crucial role in our meal today. It's always fun to incorporate a bit of DIY into the process, don't you think? Let's check on the tandoor now. By the incredible smell wafting through the air, I'd say the lavash bread is just about done. The aroma alone is enough to make your mouth water. Take a look at this crispy crust. It's got that perfect golden color, and I can already imagine the satisfying sound it'll make when we tear it apart. Let's take it out carefully. We don't want to ruin that beautiful crust. Now, we're moving on to the highlight of the day. Remember that metal net I showed you earlier? Well, it's time to put it to good use. This isn't just any ordinary cooking tool. It's something I've crafted to give our chicken a unique roasting experience. I've made special hooks to hang the chicken legs around this metal cylinder, almost like a culinary chandelier. It's starting to look like a Christmas tree, but instead of ornaments, we've got juicy chicken legs hanging from it. It's quite the sight, and trust me, the flavor is going to match the visual appeal. Alright, let's place our masterpiece inside the tandoor. This is where the magic really happens. Inside, the chicken legs will develop that perfect crispy skin while staying tender and juicy on the inside. It's all thanks to the even, intense heat of the tandoor, which cooks the meat to perfection. And of course, what's a KFC-style meal without some classic French fries? It just wouldn't feel right without them. So, let's get started on making some crispy golden fries. For more unique and interesting content like this, make sure you follow us on social media. We're always cooking up something new. Now, let's add all the essential seasonings to the fries. Salt, pepper, maybe a bit of paprika to give them a little kick. Seasoning is key to getting that perfect fry. I've preheated the oil and the kitchen is filled with the mouth-watering aroma of French fries. There's a reason these are a universal favorite. They're just so irresistible. It looks like we've got some curious visitors, probably drawn in by the incredible smells. They're wondering how fast food like this is even possible way out here in the mountains. Yep, you're not imagining things. It's really French fries sizzling away right here. Whoa, careful there, little guy. Swinging that hammer around isn't the safest way to have fun. How about you put it down and go join your friends instead? Watching these kids reminds me of my own childhood, playing by the water, seeing who could skip stones the farthest across the pond. Those simple pleasures are what makes life sweet. Alright, the French fries are ready. Just look at that gorgeous golden crisp. They're going to be the perfect side for our chicken. Now, it's time to check on our chicken. I can see everyone in the background watching with bated breath, eager to see and taste the final result. Here it comes, fresh out of the Tandoor. Oh, the smell is just incredible, filling the air with a rich, savory aroma that's hard to resist. Take a look at this perfectly roasted chicken. Golden, crispy skin with tender, juicy meat inside. This is what good cooking is all about. All right, everyone, it's time to dig in. Grab it while it's hot and crunchy. Let's make sure nothing goes to waste. This is the kind of meal you savor to the last bite.
Hoppa! Yine kartuşka kanakası. Şimdi alan ne? Oldu mu? Kalasa tadınız zankini gibi kozuna. Kileyi de yazın tadınız.
Het is de koffie op de. Nee. Buiten op. Dit is. Kahve içinden öyle. Ya da su.
If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to like and subscribe, because there's plenty more where this came from. We've got a lot of exciting recipes, tips and tricks lined up that you won't want to miss. So tell me, what do you think? How does my homemade version of KFC stack up against the original? Judging by those full cheeks and the happy munching sounds, I think we already know the answer. Even the dog is getting in on the action. A lucky guy. There's nothing better than good food and good company. It's been such a pleasure having you all with us today.
Kanalımıza dəstək olmaq istəyirsinizsə, onlayn mağazamızdan xüsusi bıçaq və ya taxta qablarımızı əldə edə bilərsiniz. Mağazanın linki videonun altındakı təsvirdə var. Super!
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest videos. And of course, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the show. See you next time.